Want to see what's in the Generation 2 Starlink kits? We start with a couple of quick boxes. First one is an extension cable that I ordered because I'm going to have to route the cable through the house. It's not really a modular system. It's kind of like with old satellites, you had to run coax. This is clearly not coax. This has what appears to be a proprietary connector. It looks like USB-C, but it's not. Have to look up what that one is. It's interesting. It's got a sealed rubber gasket, actually 2 gaskets, which means it will push into the body housing to seal it from the weather. It looks like that's true only on one side of the cable, though. The other side has a boot, but doesn't have the same sealant. So it's pretty clear this goes into the outside, routes through the house, and then this will connect into the inside router. It's interesting because I haven't seen the design of the inside router yet. This is the main Starlink box. I just kind of ripped at the tape a little bit to make this a little easier. This is the Generation 2 Starlink, the rectangular one instead of the flat circular dish. Apparently I missed some of the tape on the underside, but I won't need the box again, hopefully. Ooh, let's take a look. Here we go. Nice little Starlink logo. Covering piece of paper. The box actually did arrive in pretty good shape. So we see in the shipping they have a what appears to be injection molded liner here that has plenty of padding. I mean, it's got a custom contour, but all of this space gives it opportunity for shock absorption. It's actually pretty substantial, and it is marked for the appropriate recycling. I'll take a look at that, make sure it gets recycled. 100% recycled content. That is a fantastic thing to see when they're including this much plastic. Oh, here is the actual dish itself. And right off the bat, I'm noticing a couple of things. The first thing is, it's a little bit of an odd shape, and there's some additional packing here in the box. Second thing that I'm noting is they have a proprietary mount. This house that I bought is 10 years old. It already has a couple of satellites mounted on it that I'll be taking down. And this will not work in any of the existing mounts, so that's fine. I've got a mount on the way. There have been shipping problems, frankly, with all of the Starlink items through FedEx. I don't know whether it's Starlink or whether it's FedEx or what the deal is, but it means that I will have to use absolutely Starlink's mount to get this thing up. There are 2 main pieces that I'm seeing right off the bat. The first one is this base. And it is a metal base that has been hollowed out and then has some reinforcement throughout the metal. It's interesting because these holes clearly are to allow you to put this on the ground and then put some stakes or something like that through it. I'm not actually going to use this. I'm going to use a long arm mount, is what it's called, off of the side of my house. But when I do my initial setup and I do my initial testing, I'll probably just put it out in the yard with this and see how it gets set up. The satellite itself has a separator, which again is the same recyclable plastic as the initial padding. And then here is the satellite itself. It's fairly good size. I mean, here's my hand for reference, and I've not exactly got the smallest paw here. The rectangular design, just aesthetically, it's not my favorite. I like the aesthetics of the circular dish, but honestly, when it comes to stuff like this, it's function over form. So if this helps me have better internet, then it is the best darn thing that I've seen all week. It's actually got a fair bit of weight to it. So the house mount is definitely going to have to be fairly substantial, and I know I've already looked at the installation manual. They want it to go into a stud, which is unsurprising. It's actually not that large. The cabling in it is fairly substantial, and the tubing feels really solid. When I hold this, there's no give, there's no move. I know that there are some motorization parts in here, so that's not surprising, but it's good to see that. There are markings underneath with the branding and information for SpaceX. Exciting. Set this aside for now. And then what's left is the router. Now, one of the things that I am not a huge fan about this is the fact that there's no Ethernet connection. Out of the box, this router is intended to be Wi-Fi only. I do have the Ethernet adapter on order, but like everything else in the Starlink ecosystem, it's on back order, which is really frustrating, which means it's going to take some time before I can just link this into my existing network. If I want to use Starlink during my first 30, 45 days, whatever it takes to actually get that Ethernet adapter, I'm going to have to completely change networks from my internal network to an external Starlink only network that has nothing else on it. I will be doing that over the next little while. The only other thing that's in the box is another piece of packing. There's a small instruction manual in the box that really is more about regulatory notice because the instructions come on the app rather than in the items in the box. And then there's the default cable, which just isn't going to be long enough for my use, which is why I ordered a separate extended cable. And that is the unboxing of the satellite itself, plus a extension cable. Received the long arm, which shipped separately. By the way, all of the components have shipped separately, so this one arrived today. FedEx is still 0 for 3, but it did finally get here. This box opens completely different from the other boxes. It actually has a tab on the top that I can actually just rip away, which is actually fairly nice. This is the long wall mount, and the long wall mount, as opposed to the short wall mount, is intended to allow the satellite to push away from the house, up over the eave and the gutter, and then to be mounted on the north face of the house, which we'll have a video for as we do the mounting. Because of the way this box opens, it doesn't come out nicely, but there is adequate packaging inside. I can feel as I open it up. There is an instruction booklet. This is the part that goes to the actual wall, secures on this side. It's actually fairly substantial metal, as you can see here. It's got pretty good thickness to it. It's relatively light. It's got some reinforcing bits, and then it's actually got an underplate that adds to the strength of the metal arm. And then the vertical piece of the mount uses the mount that's already on the satellite. So there's no vertical extension piece. It's literally a horizontal bar that comes out of the house, and then the existing satellite connects into. So it mounts to the house like this at a slight angle. And then it's okay that water kind of falls in here and runs out. The entire piece is coated. You actually do get some fairly thick lag bolts. Obviously, if you need something more than that, you can go to a local hardware store. And then there is some cable routing hardware that also came in this kit with a built-in screw, as well as kind of this Starlink gray clip to run along the wall. There are actually quite a few of these. It's a pretty generous kit. I actually have no idea why they included this handy dandy carrying case fabric thing. It's nice, it's interesting, seems a little odd, but they did include it, so thank you, Starlink. Whatever. And then they do include a silicone sealant which can help seal any kind of holes, etc., that you're going to end up having to make. Essentially, the way that they've done the mounting plate is you put this up against the wall, put in the top lag bolt, allow this to sit on the top lag bolt, and then you put the second lag bolt through, and that'll secure it to the wall, because the second lag bolt has no ability to actually move, whereas the first one, you can just kind of put the bolt in the wall and then sit it on top of this. So the mounting is still to come. The instruction booklet I have actually kind of talked about in a previous video. There are a lot of regulatory discussions. There are 2 pages here of the install instructions in English. All of the other pages in this booklet are simply repeating these 2 pages of diagrams in other languages. So if what you need isn't on these 2 pages, your only recourse is to go to forums or someone else's install video online. I will share some of my install experience as we go, coming soon.